I'm Zhang Zheng from the Confucius Institute at the University of Toledo. And this is one of the lecture series of our Confucius Institute. And at the same time, it is one of the lecture series of the GLCC, that is the Great Lakes Chinese Consortium, which includes 7 Confucius institutes around the Great Lakes area. And we do have several series of events in each semester for people to know about Chinese learning, Chinese culture, and to explore about China. So first, I'd like to welcome every one of you. I'm very pleasure to have the first lecture of this series. What we are going to have today would be a very brief introduction of the Chinese traditional festivals. Okay. In this lecture, we're going to have the following points, like a very brief introduction of the origin of festivals. Of course, that will be focused on the origins of the Chinese festivals. Because we know people in different countries, from different nations in different regions will celebrate quite differently. So if you have an idea of why and how people celebrate the festivals, you can have a better understanding of the certain kind of customs, cultures, and even behaviors, and certain kind of activities that people have. So you will have a better understanding of that culture, that civilization. And then we'll have some details of some major festivals in China, how people celebrate, what people do, what people eat, and so on. And then at last, we're going to have something more. That is, in these festivals and celebrations, what is in there? Why? And what is included in terms of cultural background, civilization, history, and social virtues, ethnic virtues, and so on. Okay, so you can have even more better understanding, much better understanding of what we do have in China. And then at last, there will be 7 minutes left for any one of you to ask questions. But of course, if you do have any questions during the lecture, please type in the chat box so I can answer them after we finish it. Okay. Now, we know that people in different countries and different nations actually celebrate a great number of different festivals or holidays. But if you want to know why and how people celebrate, or in what way they celebrate, you will have to go into the history, into what we name as culture or customs of that country. Either it is certain kind of cultural explanation, historical or geographical, and so on, so you can know it better. Like in the United States, in many other Western countries, the biggest celebration for them every year would be Christmas, and there are many things that are symbols for this Christmas, like the Christmas tree, pile of gifts, and Santa Claus, and the chimney, who through the chimney, who will go down to the houses and bring gifts for kids. Okay. But then in some other countries, like in China, now look at this picture. You can see people are celebrating. This should be for the Spring Festival, but it is really another quite different picture. But why? So now first, let's come to the origins of festivals. When we look at the festivals in some other nations or some other cultures, like what we do here in the list, like the New Year, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Easter, Valentine's Day, or I don't know how that these two should be pronounced. That's from Arab. Most of them are religious. This is why I think, to some degree, we can understand. In English, it is the festivals are also named as holiday. That's from the two different words, holy day. But when we talk about the festivals in China, it is another very different picture because most or all of the festivals in China actually have much to do with the agrarian civilization. Because traditionally in history, China is a country in which agriculture is very important for common people. But then, how do the people decide what festivals to celebrate? And that has much to do with what they do according to seasonal conditions. And we know, now look at this picture. This is an elliptical orbit of the Earth that shows the Earth runs around the Sun. But at the same time, we know the Earth rotates around an axis by itself. So in different seasons of the year, the Earth is at a different distance from the sun and at a certain angle. This is why during the 365 days in a year, we do have different seasons. But then, why is it so important? Just now I mentioned the word agriculture. This is so because the seasons, or say the seasonal conditions, actually matter for agriculture. And it is very important for people to know what to do at what time. So the Chinese people in ancient times created another calendar, which we call it the lunar calendar instead of the solar calendar. Okay, and based on that, they tried to separate the whole year into 24 parts. That is, in each month, there will be two different periods. And based on this, they do have 24 solar terms. Also, we call that 24 seasonal terms. From the very beginning of the year, which is called here, that's the spring masses. That is the beginning, the starting point of each year. And then spring shower and insects weaken in the first month, and then vernal equinox, bright and clear, corn and rain, and so on. And here we do have a list of all these, which we can have a comparison of the Chinese characters and the English translation. And then we can see in each season, we do have 6 different terms. And these terms actually are the joint points to separate different times for people, just for people to know what to do. So for example, we do have start of spring. It is around this joint point at this time that we celebrate the Spring Festival. It should be the most important because it is the beginning of a new year. Okay. Um, So by sharing this, we can have a good understanding of the joint points. And we can have the Chinese character here also. The joint points in China, in Chinese, is 节. So we do have that as a 春节, like what we are having today also, 中秋节. By the way, today is October the 1st, and at the same time, according to the Chinese Lunar Calendar, it is the Mid-Autumn Festival. So we celebrate these two festivals on the same day. But the national day is based on the solar calendar, but the Mid-Autumn Festival is based on the Chinese lunar calendar, based on what we mentioned just now, the 24 joint points. This Mid-Autumn Festival is just in the middle, like here, just in the middle of the autumn, from July to September. That's the autumn according to the four seasons. But Mid-Autumn Festival is just in the middle, August the 15th. Okay, so all these can indicate the change of seasons and for people to know what to do for agriculture. So that is something different, I think, for you to know why the Chinese is celebrating this, but for some others, they celebrate in another way, or they celebrate some other festivals or holidays. Anyway, all holidays or festivals nowadays are for people to worship, to celebrate, to entertain, to get together. But this kind of custom actually does not happen suddenly. It is developed through history. It is based on people's experience of making a living and so on. Everything, I say, there are many factors that will decide, or say, for people to decide what to celebrate, what to do, what to eat, even. So human beings will decide what to do based on natural conditions and what they need. That's a general understanding of how the festivals, not only in China, but also throughout the world, where they come from, the origins. Now, we do have here, we do have several examples for us to have a clearer idea, like the Spring Festival in China, which is the most important one. It is just around the start of spring, the first seasonal term among the 24 of them. And then Qingming Festival. It is just the date of this seasonal term that we celebrate this festival. This is something different. But for Spring Festival or the Mid-Autumn Festival, it is just around a certain seasonal joint point. But for this one, it's different. It is also very important because at this time of the season, people began to prepare for agriculture, for planting. And then before doing that, they worship their ancestors to do some certain kind of tomb sweeping, just in order to pray to their ancestors to protect them and also to have a good wish and for another prosperous year. Okay. And another one just I mentioned, it is regarded as the second important celebration or festival for Chinese people. It is around Autumnal Equinox. That is one of the joint points. It is just in the middle of the autumn season. In this year, it was 1 week ago. Okay, but then after another week, there's another seasonal term, or say another joint point. This festival is just like Thanksgiving for Westerners. It is to celebrate harvest, but at the same time, of course, it is a time for people to have their family members together and get a reunion. Okay, after a general introduction of what uh, we do have in China to celebrate and why we celebrate those festivals, now let's come to some details about some very important things that we should know about the Chinese festivals. First, let's look at this. I have a list of some important festivals in China. Please look at the dates and see. Try to find what kind of trend or what kind of rules there are. Can you find any? Maybe or maybe not. But then here, I think we can find that, for example, for the Spring Festival, it's January the 1st. Okay, it is the beginning of 1 month. And then for the Lantern Festival, it's January the 15th. For Zhongyuan Festival, it is July 15th. For Mid-Autumn Day, August 15th. This is a group, the 15th, that's in the middle day of the month. And then for some others, like Qixi Festival, that's July the 7th. And Chongyang Festival, September the 9th. So the numbers are repeating. This is one thing that is also very important. So about the days of the festivals in China, for most of them, we either have it on the first day of the month, or the middle day, or the repeating numbers, like 5, 5, 9, 9, 8, 8, and so on. Okay, that is something that we should pay attention to because it reflects a certain kind of value of the Chinese people, that is symmetry. We appreciate moderation very much. We do not go to extremes for most people, of course. That is certain kind of also a kind of aesthetic appreciation. And then for the origins, it is based on the agrarian civilization of China through history. And they follow natural orders. They do, they have certain kind of activities to celebrate based on what people should do at different times or at different periods of the time during the year. And that can also show the kind of value that Chinese people appreciate or respect, that is the harmony between human and nature. And even for food, it is production based. By this, I mean that in different times of, let's say, for people to celebrate different festivals, we eat different things. Just for what we produce at that time. But this is not absolute, okay? Say, for example, during the Duanwu festival, it is at the beginning of May, May the 5th. During that time, we eat zongzi, which is quite typical for Chinese people. And we do have sticky rice wrapped with reed leaves. Reed leaves? Because this is so because at that time of the year, reed leaves are large enough to be used to have this kind of food. And also that kind of leaf have a very special fragrance smell for people to have, which is very pleasant for people to have. And for Spring Festival, we do have meat, every kind of meat, pork, beef, uh, lamb, chicken, and so on, everything. Because it is the biggest, we should have the best. And for Mid Autumn Day, we do have many fruits, grains. And this is so because it is the harvest season for we to have every kind of fruit or grain. And then for activities, they are also developed accordingly. People have different kinds of worship styles or different kinds of events or activities to celebrate. So for example, during the New Year's time, I say the Spring Festival time, we will have drama or temple fairs or certain kind of games, matches, relative or friend visits, and so on. Everything will be in there. It is a combination. This is so because at that time of the year, people have much more free time to do all that kind of thing, including worship. But during this Mid Autumn Festival, we only have things like to appreciate the moon, to get a family reunion, or maybe climbing. But for climbing, we know at this season of the year, it is quite pleasant for us to go out to breathe in fresh air and enjoy the plants. Just enjoy. Okay, so that's also developed accordingly. And for the presentations of each festival, we can also have all those at different levels, like the physical things, new clothes, food, uh, maybe red envelope. Uh, but then what people do will be also different. But mainly family gathering. Now, by family gathering, generally it is a gathering of all the people in an extended family. That is, you will be with your parents, with your brothers and sisters, and even with your great parents, grandparents. Okay. And for public events, drinking maybe. Okay. And good wish statements like 节日快乐, just happy holiday or happy festival and so on. Maybe firecrackers, a dragon boat, lion dance, and so on. And then at the spiritual level, uh, people worship the God. Now here, the God, pay attention, not the God. Uh, this is also something quite specific for the Chinese people. We do have religions like Taoism, Buddhism, but for many people, we believe in Confucianism. But Confucianism is not really a religion. It is a philosophy. It is a certain kind of a system of philosophical ideas. And so for the Chinese people, including those people who believe in Taoism and Buddhism, they do not worship only one God. They worship gods. That's a number of gods. And what is also quite unique is that for all the gods, including those gods in Buddhism, there is a saying in Buddhism. I don't know whether you ever heard of that. That is, every human being has his Buddhist nature. What does that mean? And also in Taoism, it is quite common that those Taoists that they will pray, they will exercise, they will work very hard, and then it is said that they can become gods, certain kind of gods. So that's something quite different for Chinese people. To worship gods is not saying that um, the gods created everything or they will decide everything uh, on the earth. But every one of us can do something. There is something there. The human being can do the most important things. So it is a certain kind of secularized respect or worship of the gods, of the nature. We respect the nature because the human being is a part of the nature. Okay. And then we also have certain kind of language, specific language styles for us to celebrate, like the couplets. Later we will have some details about the couplets. And like foods, like 拜年, we do have the 拜年, and that is to express your good wishes to the older generations. How about foods? I think all of you know, or most of you know 饺子 and 鱼. No, let's just take an example of the word, the character 鱼. Literally, it is fish. Okay, but when we eat fish during the festivals, especially when it is during the Spring Festival, because it is the end of a year and it is the beginning of another year. When you eat fish, it means you will have abundant things for the following year, because you literally it is fish, and at the same time it is abundance. Okay, so that's really something. People will often use those words to show their best wishes for the following prosperity. Now, I'd like to have some more details about the two most important festivals in China, about what people do, how they celebrate. First, of course, the Spring Festival, which is the biggest celebration of the year, and people will get together, worship their ancestors, and do some relative visiting and so on. And the time for this is something. I think it is something just like uh, the Christmas season, okay, or the holiday season in the Western world, even from the Thanksgiving holiday, and then it will last for more than a month. And for the Chinese people, it is just also the same. The exact date for this festival is January the 1st, but from December the 8th, there's a saying in Chinese, 过了腊八就是年. That is December the 8th, that's the date. After this date, people began to celebrate, begin to prepare for the biggest celebration. And it will last to January the 15th. This is so because it is very, very important, and people need time to prepare, to celebrate, and to get together and to do everything that they want to do, or they prepare for the next following year. And about food. Just now I mentioned that we eat 饺子, we eat vegetable or food, and 饺子 is very special. One thing is because of the name, 饺子. In traditional Chinese, it is 饺子. That is the changing from an old year to another new year. That is the changing time, the point for us to do it, to celebrate. This is why it is important. That's the name of it. But then another one is the shape, or say the regular shape of 饺子 is like the ancient Chinese money. So that is something good. But talking about this, I think we can have a comparison between the Chinese way and, say, for example, the American way. In America, there is a very important festival That's Thanksgiving. There is one food that is a must eat, right? I think you know it. That's turkey. But why turkey? Why turkey? If you look up on the internet, or if you ask some others, maybe who are quite familiar with this, you can have the good answer. As I know, we all know the origin of Thanksgiving. That is to express thanks to those people who have helped, who have been helping you. So that is also a very big celebration for a large group of people. So first, this kind of food should be something big to feed a large group of people. And turkey is big enough. Okay? And then another one, which is even more important, turkey is something unique in the United States, in this country. And we do, there are a large number of them. You know what? Two day or several days ago, we went to the Maumee Bay State Park. When we were coming back on the way, when I was driving, there was a turkey just walking in the middle of the road. Okay, a wild turkey. That's quite unimaginable. So I would have to stop there and watch it walking across the road. So this is also something quite wonderful for that travel. Okay. Well, that's I think by comparing that, you can just have a better understanding of how and why people eat certain kind of food or do some other things like the activities, house cleaning, decoration, cocktails, New Year's feast, New Year's Eve feast, firecrackers, relative visiting, and so on. If you want to know more about all these things and why, you can go onto the internet and you can have a better idea of all these. Now, I do have some pictures for us uh, uh, to look at how people say how people celebrate. For example, for this one, this is a certain kind, just one of the styles that people worship gods. Here it is to worship the cooking god. Okay, it is the cooking god that people are worshiping. This is so because the cooking god uh, is in charge of the household. He will decide what people eat and what kind of harvest you are going to have, maybe. So before the Spring Festival, it is said that this god will go back to the heaven and report to the Jade Emperor. So if you worship him and pray, well, the god will say some good things for you. And the next year, when he's back, he will protect you for all the year round. And at the same time, people worship their ancestors. We know that in China, in many regions, people have their worship house or worship hall. This is for a very large family. Even it will include all the people who have the same last name. Okay, and during the Spring Festival, they will come into this hall and worship their ancestors at the same time. And if you do not have this, sometimes people will have only a piece of board or a piece of paper on which their ancestors or their maybe say grandfathers or great grandfathers parents names are written, and they are just in their homes and they worship during this celebration. And of course, decorations. This is full happiness, which is the mostly used word for people to express their best wishes. And this year it is the year of the mouse. So we do have many different kinds of things like this, paper cuttings or some little things, some little gifts for people to buy and to deliver to their relatives. Last year it was the pigs, right? Pigs year. And the next year it will be the year of ox. Even now, it is still in the year of the mouth. People design this for the next year. You can see how important it is. And for this, just now I mentioned the couplets. And this is the couplets on both sides of the door or the gate of a family. They do have this. On the left side, on the right side, there will be two vertical lines. And then on top of the door, there's another horizontal line. And then some others like the lanterns, some paper cuttings, happiness. Okay? And the picture on the right, it is, I think some of you, of course, are very familiar with this. It is our office, the UDCI office. From the outside, we can see how we decorate this place that we work every day. And during the Spring Festival at midnight, people will have firework celebration, which will be quite unique, I think. And of course, people eat together, they work together, they have new clothes. See, especially red new clothes to express their good wishes and their love of this color. Because the red color really means something, means prosperity, means strength, okay, everything good. And they make dumplings together. And also, they express in this way. The younger generation will say some very good words, good wishes to the older generations. We call that 拜年. And then, in return, the older generation, say for example in this picture, the grandparents will give the child some red envelopes. Okay, in the envelopes there will be money. And another one, well, this is a large gathering during the spring festivals, especially. We call it the temple fair. People will just go there to enjoy, to appreciate. Of course, there will be businesses, and there will be some certain kind of activities for people to watch. And another one, the second important traditional festival in China is the Mid-Autumn Day, or Mid-Autumn Festival, for people to worship the moon because it is the harvest celebration. And the people also get together, eat mooncake, and appreciate the full moon. That will be the major activities. And several days ago, we had a live online activity which is moon taking, given by one of our teachers. I think you learned something. Well, whenever we mention the Mid-Autumn Festival, there will be some quite symbolized things that we can talk about, like the moon, Chang'e, or the jade rabbit. And also we had an activity for us to make a paper rabbit, paper folding. And Chang'e, I think there's also a story for this fairy who actually was originally a human being, but then mistakenly, but not mistakenly, but just because she wanted to avoid certain kind of harm from a thief. So she took the medicine, the only medicine which can make a person become a fairy, become a god. But then after taking that, she flew to the moon and was separated from her husband. So whenever we have this, because now it is said that Chang'e, when she was separated from her husband, she lived in the palace on the moon, and also the jade rabbit. So whenever we do have these symbols, it will remind people a certain kind of homesickness. Okay, so since uh, these festivals are so important, so for every Chinese, wherever you are, no matter how far away you are from your hometown, people will just try their best to go back to get together with their family members. So generally in China, in China there's a very large population. People will drive home, or people will take planes or trains, and there will be this kind of phenomenon. Say it is very crowded in the railway stations, and also some traffic jams even on the highways. Okay, well, that's some details about the two very important festivals in China, Spring Festival and Mid-Autumn Day Festival. And then we'll have something that may be insightful for you to know more about the Chinese festivals. But first, we know all festivals come from history. No matter what festivals they are, either they are from China or from any other nations or countries, they develop through history. So people have a certain kind of combination of behaviors, customs, activities, and worship style, and so on. And then in the festivals, there are something that will reflect a certain kind of, maybe it is certain kind of religion, or it is certain kind of philosophy, or it is just a belief for people uh, uh, to lead their life. There would be something actually embedded. Different ideas or different beliefs are embedded, and at the same time they are maybe iconized. Maybe it is a kind of animal, it is an object, it is a custom, it is a kind of behavior, it is a activity of celebration. And at the same time, of course, some virtues there would be embedded also in there. Like in China, uh, the filial piety is very important. That's the respect for our older generations. Okay, they are embedded there. Every time you go home, you will say first, of course, go to visit your parents, your great parents, to uh, get together. That there are so many things. So we say every culture is really an identity for that nation, for that civilization. And if you know more about how they celebrate, what they do, even what they eat, and then you will have a better understanding. And nowadays, the globe is becoming an internationalized place for everyone to communicate with each other. But if you want to do it better, first is to know something, to know what and why and how, of course. And then you can understand. And then you can communicate better. You have a better understanding, more effective communication with people who are from another culture. from another nation, and then you become interculturalized. You will develop your own intercultural competence and become a more developed human being, which is helpful for every one of us in this world. Well, since this is the Mid-Autumn Festival, and for us to celebrate that very big time, and it is family gathering time. But we know that many of us, including those Chinese or some other people, during the festivals, they just cannot go home to celebrate with their family members together. There will be some kind of homesickness. And here I'd like to share with you one of the most famous poems in China from Tang Dynasty. The poet is Li Bai, which will remind people the homesickness, to express that kind of strong feeling. I think I'd just like to read it in Chinese, that you can just feel it, because there is the translation there. 床前明月光，疑是地上霜。举头望明月，低头思故乡。With this, we will end our introduction of the Chinese traditional festivals. And if you want to know more about the lecture series, you can visit our website of GLCC, and also you can follow the Facebook of our Confucius Institute, or even send letters through email to us, and we can talk more. And for this, if you do have any questions, I think I and also my colleagues can try to answer any, or we can just discuss, talk. Okay. Thank you.